It was a good response. Obviously Saturday's game was tight. We had some things happen prior to the game that, from a mental standpoint, makes things a little bit more challenging than you would, if everything's normal. But, part of uh, developing team chemistry and mental toughness is, having adversity thrown at you, even in tough situations. And from a mental standpoint, I was really happy with the way we played and found a way to win a hockey game Saturday. And then I thought, probably the second half of Sunday's game, we started to really relax and play at a high level, which we've seen before during the season. And, I think that was good for us. And now you just have this momentum and, have a pretty good feeling about where we are. And now you just have to maintain that and keep it going into this weekend.
You mentioned momentum. Can you feel that when you're, on the bench?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like I say, as we entered Saturday's game, I think everybody, was in a tough stage because of, the injury that we sustained to one of our players prior to the game, and everybody's thinking about her, and yet, the next 15 minutes they're going to drop the puck and you got to play, and so you have to try to change things, and it was challenging. It was difficult, but we pushed ourselves through it, and then to answer your question, it's like, you watch the third period of Sunday's game and it's free flowing, and we're doing the things that we've shown earlier in the season and prior to Christmas, what we're capable of doing. And it's a matter of just, focusing on things that I can do individually and clearing that mind and clearing the weeds and all the thoughts that are going through you, and just go out and do what naturally comes to you because you know how to play hockey. And it's that willingness to be able to clear that mind and clear the mechanism and play freely. And what I saw in the third period was evident of that happening.
You mentioned an injury
Yeah.
before. Take us. Who was it and how's she doing?
Well, Natalie, and she got sustained an injury, prior to obviously going out for warm-ups in Saturday's game, and so whether I'm a coach sitting in the locker room getting my lineup set and getting things ready to go for the game, or I'm a player and I'm doing the same thing Natalie was doing, getting warmed up, and then all of a sudden, boom, something happens, and now she's not going to be able to play that game in her future. You don't know what's going to happen. So as a player, you go back in the locker room, and I just went out for warm-ups, and I'm coming back. I go out and play a game, and what's on my mind? Well, my teammates on my mind in that case. And so it just was. I mean, I was on the bench the first 5 or 6 or 8 minutes of the game Saturday. That's what I'm thinking about. I'm trying to manage the game and do things that we need to do to be successful. But in the back of my mind, you're thinking about that. And so it just, life throws things at you, and how do you handle them, how you deal with them. And sometimes it's hard. And for us Saturday, it was hard. And, even today, it's, you feel bad, and it's just a tough situation. But again, you have to keep pushing forward. And, we got a set of cards here, and we got to play with the cards that we have, and we move forward in that situation. So I like the way we played, the second half of Sunday's game. We freed ourselves up, and we started moving the puck, and obviously scoring some goals helps, clear your mind a little bit, because that was one thing that was missing over the last month. So it was good. You come in the locker room after the game Sunday, and you can see those smiles were back on the players' faces. They worked hard. They're sore today because of the effort they put over the weekend, but that's natural. But when you win the games, you score goals, you feel better about the whole process.
As far as Natalie goes, it sounds like is she done, or what's kind
Yep.
of?
Yep. Yeah, she won't play again this year. So.
Oh, okay. And then just 2 things. One, Saturday, and actually for the weekend, tell me like the adjustments you made to your line to compensate for her loss.
Well, I mean, you hear coaches when you have an injury or you have something happen to a player on your team and they're not able to play. It's that next person up mentality, and so we're in that situation. So Natalie doesn't play Saturday. Well, it's that next person. So somebody that may have gotten 3, 4, 5 minutes in that game now is going to get 8, 10, 12 minutes. And so have you prepared for that opportunity? Because you don't know when your opportunity is going to come. And that's the whole thing about, what we're at in college athletics, is that sometimes I feel I should play more than I should, and I'm not getting the minutes. But am I still working at practice? So when my time comes, you don't know when your time might come. When it comes, am I ready for that opportunity? And if you're not ready, shame on you for not being ready. And so it's that next person mentality. So you lose a player, whether it's your top player or somebody in the middle or bottom, it's that next person coming in that has to fill that void and eat up those minutes that you're going to miss from a player that's not going to be able to play for you. So you hear coaches talk about it all the time, and we're in the middle of it.
Was there, like, this past weekend, was there someone, for at least for that series, that you kind of just slid into her spot, or was it a lot of shuffling, or what, did you just kind of plug one person into where she was?
No, you do it by a community, a group of people. So instead of, like for KK or for Nicole, I mean, they're playing a bunch of minutes. You might add a couple more minutes to their plate, depending. Again, a lot goes on with what the game is. If the game is 5-on-5 and there aren't a lot of penalties, you can make some of those adjustments smoothly. If all of a sudden you start killing a bunch of penalties, or you're on the power play and certain people are playing those opportunities more than others, then you got to manage things a little bit differently. So, the one thing about our team, knock on wood, we don't take a lot of penalties, and so that's a positive. And if we're not on the power play a lot, then again, you get into a rhythm, you get into flows, and the players get into the same type of thing. It's 5-on-5, and the rotations are moving along, and people are playing, they're getting their rest, and they keep playing. It's when you get these penalties, and if you get penalties back to back, and your penalty killers now have to exert more minutes. So it's a process, and it's by community. When somebody goes down and they've played big minutes, you got to have 3, 4, 5 people fill in and grab those extra minutes that you're missing.
Looking ahead to this weekend, St. Thomas, what do you expect from that series, and how do you carry the momentum you gained from this past series up to this one?
Well, I'd like to think the players, are a little bit more relaxed, from the sense of, after you lose 5 games in a row, nobody gets comfortable. Everybody gets, angry and ornery. It's like waking up Monday and you have to go to work and you don't really feel like going to work. And same thing in our business. You come to practice and some days you really don't feel like practicing. If you lost a few games in a row, the coach is grumpy, the trainers are grumpy, the strength training coach is grumpy, everybody's grumpy. And so you have to work your way through that. And so after, this weekend, we had a tight game Saturday, and, we got a little distance on Sunday, but we played well. Kids scored goals. Kid made good plays, and they should feel good about the effort. And so as you start practice this week, get prepared for St. Thomas, your mindset is in a better place than it was maybe a week ago or 2 weeks ago, where you started, you're fighting a few things. But it's just building on what we did. I mean, if we can clear our minds and play up to our capabilities, then we're going to create some chances. And then if the puck goes in, we're going to score some goals.
Cam, you played Cam in both games. Is that sort of, is that going to be how it's going to be pretty much the rest of, the season?
I mean, in a perfect world, I could probably answer that question, but we don't live in that perfect world. So it's like, the old cliche, one game at a time, one play at a time, one day at a time. And, in this time of season, when you have 8 games left and there's really no margin for error, you have to, go on that. So, that's what we did this past weekend as a staff. We decided to go to Cami Saturday and then see where we are after the game. Then we made a decision after the game. We felt that Cami was in a good position to come back and play Sunday. And, sometimes you make the right choice and sometimes you don't. I thought we made the right choice because, we step on the ice Sunday, and first shift, 8 seconds into the game, we're on a penalty kill. And so your goalie better be ready, because they're going to probably get a couple chances. And she made, at least 1, if not 2 good saves to keep the game at 0-0 early in the game. And that's what you're looking for. And, anytime your goalie gives you a chance to win at the end of the game, that's what you're looking for. So we'll do the same thing this weekend. We'll pick the goalie for Friday night's game, and at the end of Friday night's game, see where we are health-wise, and see, where we are with the goaltender that played, and make our decision either Friday night or Saturday morning for Saturday's game. So that's sort of the area we're in right now, and we'll probably do that the next couple weekends. And as we get ready to go up to Minnesota and get ready for Ohio State, we'll probably do the same thing. And so you're looking to really hone in on things the next couple weekends, get yourself ready for our trip up to Minneapolis and then back here at Ohio State, and really get yourself positioned and have everybody in place to get ready for the playoffs.